guys, today we're going to be making one of these granny squares. I've called this an old-fashioned granny square because I think the motif in the middle looks a little bit more old school than something that you might see on a modern pattern. We're going to be doing something quite unique with the corners today, so this is a little bit more complex than your standard granny square, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through all the steps. We've got 4 colours of yarn that we're using today, and I will link all of them in the description below. We're also going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook, which makes you a square of about 13 centimetres, but if you would like to adjust that based on whatever yarn you're using, or to shrink your square down or enlarge it, please feel free to do so. You will also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle for tying in your ends, but apart from that, let's get started. We're going to begin using our pink to make the centre of our granny square. To start, you're going to make a slip knot. Then you're going to take your hook, pop it into the loop, tighten it up, and we're going to begin by chaining 4. So to do a chain, what we're going to do is we're going to catch the yarn and we're going to put it through the loop on the hook, and that makes 1 chain. So I'm going to do that again. Catch the yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook. So I'm going to do that 2 more times to make 4 chains. So this is what you should have. And now what we're going to do is slip stitch into this first chain that we made. So you're going to pop your hook in, and it will make this kind of U shape on your hook. What you're going to want to do is catch the yarn in that same motion you did for the chain and pull it through all the loops on your hook at the same time. This will make this kind of little donut shape, and that is what we're going to be working into. So this middle hole, that is going to be the centre of our project. So to begin, what we're going to do is chain 4. And then we're going to double crochet 1. So I'm using US terminology here. So if you were using UK terminology, this would be a triple, but throughout this project, I'm going to be using US terminology. To do a double, what you're going to do is take your hook and wrap the yarn around it. You're then going to take your hook and pop it into the donut, into the middle of that ring that we created with our chain stitches. You're then going to catch the yarn and put it through the donut, which makes 3 loops on your hook. You're then going to catch the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to catch the yarn again and pull through the second 2 loops on your hook. And that is a double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to repeat that 6 more times until we've got 7 double crochets and 2 chains in total. So double crochet into the donut, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 more double crochet and chain 2. And then we're back at the beginning. What we're going to do now is we are going to slip stitch into these beginning chains that we did at the start. So if you count them, you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to be popping our hook into the second chain stitch and doing a slip stitch. And that is the very centre of our flower. So now I'm going to pull my hook up to make a loop with the yarn. I'm going to take my scissors and chop off a tail, and then pull that tail through the loop to tie off like so. We're now going to begin our petals of our flower, so we're going to be working this orange section. So I'm going to take my yarn, and in the same process that we started with, make a slip knot. When you make a slip knot, you want to make sure you're leaving enough of a tail that you can use them at the end to tie in your ends. So we're going to take our hook and we're going to pop it into one of the gaps in between these double crochet stitches. So these gaps here are what we're going to be working into. I'm going to pop my hook in, then I'm going to take my slip knot and pop it onto my hook, tying it up. So what you're going to do now you've got that loop ready to work is you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're now going to be working 3 double crochets into this same hole. So that same hole you did your chains into, you're going to go back in with a double crochet. So we're going to wrap our yarn around the hook, pop our hook into that big hole, catch the yarn, pull it through, leaving 3 loops on our hook. Then going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and catch the yarn again to pull through the second 2 loops on the hook. We're going to repeat that twice more to make 3 double crochet in total. And then we're going to single crochet 1 into that same hole. So to do that, we're going to catch the yarn and put it through the hole. That makes 2 loops on our hook. We're then going to catch the yarn and pull through both loops on the hook at the same time. We're now going to jump across this double crochet stitch. To do that, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet 1 into this next hole. We're then going to do 3 double crochets into this next hole, or into the same hole, pardon me. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do another single crochet into the same hole. And then we're jumping across that double crochet stitch, so we chain 1, and we're going to repeat this the whole way round the flower. So 1 single crochet, 3 double crochets, 1 single crochet and a chain 1 in the remaining holes. So that was the end of all my petals. I've just completed my last remaining one. To finish off this row, what we're going to do is slip stitch into that beginning chain that we did at the beginning of our petals. So you see we've got 1, 2 chains here, 1, 2. I'm going to pop my hook into this one, this bottom one. And do a slip stitch to tie off. Pulling up a loop with my hook. I can snip off a tail. And and pull that tail through the loop. So there we have our flower, and we are now going to go on to do our first row of the white. This is the row that we're going to be working on, so the one under our green leaves, the one inside it. For that, I'm going to take my white colour, and in the same starting method as previous, we're going to make a slip knot. I'm then going to take my hook and I'm going to place it in one of the gaps between the petals, and by the gap I mean under the chain space that you did across these double crochet stitches. So you can see here that there is a little gap just here, and that's where we're going to be popping our hook into. We're then going to take our slip knot, pop it onto the hook, and then we can pull that through the gap. To begin with here, we are going to chain 3. So this stitch is made up, this section, these stitches, we've got 2 double crochets in the gap between the petals. In the second double crochet, so that middle double crochet of the petal itself, we're going to be doing a single crochet, a chain, and a single crochet. We're then going to be moving back onto our doubles. To begin, we chain 3. This is going to act as our double crochet. And then we do our double crochet itself. So, here is the petal. We've got our chain 1, double crochet 1, double crochet 2, double crochet 3, and then we've got our single crochet. So making sure you're working it into that second double crochet stitch, so the one in the middle, you're going to pop your hook in and do a single crochet. You're then going to chain 1, and working back into that same hole, that same top of the stitch, you're going to do another single crochet. We're now working into the gap between the petals, and we're doing 2 double crochets. In between our double crochets, we chain 1, so I've done 1 double crochet, chain 1, and then we do our second one. And then we're moving in to our petal, so working into that middle double crochet, the second one, we do our 1 single crochet, chain 1, and then do our 1 single crochet into that same hole. And you should have something that's starting to look a little bit like this. So you've got your longer stitches in the lower gap, smaller stitches in the higher gap. Now moving on to our next gap in between the petals, we do our first double crochet, chain 1, and our second double crochet. Moving into our petals, we do our single crochet into that second double crochet stitch, chain 1, and another single crochet into that same hole. And I'm going to repeat this for the remainder of the petals until I get back round here to where I started. So I've now just completed my final single crochet stitch, and in order to tie this off, I'm going to pop my hook into that first chain stitch that we did right at the beginning of this row and do a slip stitch, and then I'm going to pull up my hook, cut a tail, and tie off. Now you need to make sure you tie off for this bit, because for the next colour we're not going to be continuing with the beige, we're going to be working the green corners, which I will show you how to do. We are going to be making each corner, these green bits here, individually. So we'll be joining and then tying off, and then joining and tying off, join, tying off, join, tying off. I know it's a lot of ends, but I think the effect is really worth it. You can see here that I'm working into this gap between the double crochet stitches in your previous row. This is a single crochet stitch gap, this is a double crochet, and we're going to be working into every other double crochet stitch. So we've got one here, we don't have one here, but then we have another corner here. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take my green yarn, same process, I'm going to make a slip knot, making sure I leave enough of a tail that I can tie in with it. I'm then going to take my hook and I'm going to pop it into one of those double crochet gaps, like so. Take my slip knot, pop it onto the hook, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Making sure our slip knot is tight. We're then going to double crochet 1 into that same gap. Then we chain 2, 1, 2. And then we double crochet 2 into that same double crochet space. And that is essentially our corner. So now I'm going to pull up a loop with my hook, cut a tail, and pull that tail through the loop to tie off. So now I'm going to repeat that 3 more times to make 4 corners in total. So we're going to do exactly the same process as we did before. We're going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to pop it into this double crochet space here. So not the next one along, but the one after. So you've got 1 double crochet space in between your corners. There should be 1 single crochet space, 1 double crochet space, another single crochet space, and then you work into this double here. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so joining our green here, we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we double crochet 1 into that chain space between the double crochets. And then we chain 2, 1, 2, and then we do 2 double crochets back into that same space. That's our second corner. So I'm going to pull up a loop with my hook, cut off a tail, and then pull that tail through the loop. Through the loop. And that is our second corner completed. So I'm going to repeat that 2 more times, making sure I'm working into the right spaces. So I'll be working into these 2 chain spaces between the double crochets here. And I will meet you when I've completed my corners. So I've completed my 4 corners, and you can see I'm starting to gather lots of ends. So if you're a smart person, you might want to stop now and tie in the ones that you've got, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to continue as is. What we are working on now is the next row of this white colour. So we're working on these bits here. You can see we work into the beige or white from 2 rows ago, and with triple crochets, and then we're going to be working into our corner leaves, our green, with some double crochets, and that repeats the whole way round. So it's a bit of chopping and changing with the heights, but I will walk you through it. I'm going to take our white colour and we're going to make a slip knot. I'm then going to take my hook and I'm going to join it in between one of the double crochet stitches. So these are the singles, these are the doubles, and you're going to pop your hook into the gap. Then going to take our slip knot and pop it on to the hook, like so. So we can pull that through here now, and what we're going to do is chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do a triple crochet. To do that, you're going to wrap the yarn around your hook like you would a double crochet, and then you're going to do that same thing again. So you're going to wrap the yarn around the hook for a second time. You're then going to take your hook and pop it into that hole, that same one that we just did the chains into. You're going to catch the yarn, put it through the hole, which makes 4 loops on our hook. We're then going to catch the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, catch the yarn again, pull through the second 2 loops on the hook, catch the yarn again and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook, and that is how we make a triple crochet. We're then going to move on to the gap in between our single crochets. So you're going to want to put in your hook under that chain space that you made between the 2 stitches. So to make our triple, we wrap the yarn around the hook twice, popping it into that gap, completing our stitch. And then we're going to do that exact same stitch again, so we're going to do another triple into that same hole. We've now reached our corner and we're going to be working into this gap between our 2 green sections, this space here. To do that, we're going to be doing double crochets. So we're going to do 3 of those into that space. And then we're going to do 3 chains, which are going to make the corner itself and allow us to turn our work. We're then going to do 3 more double crochets into this same hole. And now we can move on back to our triples. So we're going to do 2 triples in each space. So between our single crochets, between our double crochet, and then again between our single crochets across to our next corner. Working into our double crochets now, or gap between them rather. And now working into the gap between our single crochets with our triples. And then we are back to our corner, which means we're doing 3 double crochets, 3 chains, and then 3 more double crochets into this hole. We're now going to continue with our triples, so we're doing 2 triples into each gap, 2 between the single, 2 between the doubles, and then 2 in these singles here. And now we're going to do our 3 doubles, 3 chains and 3 more doubles into our corner. And then we're back to our triples, so 2 triples between the single crochets, 2 triples between the doubles, and then 2 triples between these single crochets. And now we're into our final corner with our last set of 3 double crochets, 3 chains and 3 more double crochets. And now into this single crochet set here, we're going to do our last 2 triples into that gap. And now, just to complete, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chains that we started with. So this chain stitch here, we're going to pop our hook in, do our slip stitch. Okay, so now we are ready to do our next row. For this row, we are going to begin by chaining 3. And what that's going to do is act as our 1 double crochet and 1 chain space that we're going to be working the whole way round. So, jumping across these 2 triple stitches here, we're now going to be working into this next gap. So this gap here, not between the doubles, but between the triples. And we're going to be doing double crochets. So you're going to do 3 double crochets into this next gap between our sets of triples. We're then going to chain 1, And then between our set of triples and our double crochets, we're going to do 3 double crochets into this gap here. We then chain 1, and we're going to do what we did for the previous corner, so exactly the same. We're going to do 3 double crochets, 3 chains, and then 3 double crochets into this corner space. So that's our first corner. We're now going to chain 1, and we're going to work into this space here. So coming across the doubles into this space, and we're going to do 3 doubles, 1 chain. And we're going to do the same until we get to this corner space. So 3 doubles, 1 chain in each of these spaces. In our corner, we're going to repeat the same process, so 3 double crochets, 3 chains, and 3 more double crochets. We're then going to do 1 chain, and we're going to begin doing our 3 double crochet, 1 chain into these gaps here, so across the gaps between our triples. Great, and now we're working into our next corner. So we're going to do our 3 double crochets, 3 chains, 3 double crochet, and then 1 more chain. All the corners are exactly the same. Great, and now we're going to carry on with our 3 double crochets, 1 chain into each gap across our work to the next corner. We're into our final corner now, so we're going to do that exact same process, 3 double crochet, 3 chains, 3 double crochet, 1 chain. So we are on to our final gaps here. So I'm going to do my final set of double crochets. Then my last chain one, and I'm going to be working into this gap. So where we did our chains to begin this row, I'm going to be working into this gap just behind it. I'm going to be doing 2 double crochets into that gap. And then I'm going to slip stitch into our second chain. So we've got 1. So I'm going to pop my hook into that second one, do a slip stitch, and then I can pull up a loop with my hook, ready to tie off. Pulling the tail through the loop. So that is the vast majority of our square completed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to show you how to make this border around the edge. You don't have to do that. You might want to leave it without a border, and that's absolutely fine. But I think it looks pretty good with one. I think it ties all the colours in nicely. So let's do that now. For the border, I'm going to use the same colour that I've used for the petals of our flower. And as ever, I'm going to begin by making a slip knot. We're then going to take our project and we're going to join it in one of these double crochet stitches. So we want to be going into the top of the stitch, popping our hook in, and then pop in our slip knot onto the hook. We're then going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet back into that same hole. So popping your hook back into the top of that same stitch, we're going to do a single crochet. And we're going to work our way along doing single crochets in the top of our doubles. Until we get to our chain space. So again, you're going to be doing single crochets in your chains, working your way along back to the doubles, just one single crochet in each hole. Now the only place where this varies is the corners. So in the corners we're going to be doing multiple single crochets, as we need to be able to shape a round. So when I get to the corner I will show you exactly how we do that. So you can see I've single crocheted along the top of our square here, and I've reached our corner space. Our corners are made up of 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do into the first chain is just one single crochet, same as we've been doing all along the top. However, into the next single crochet, the next chain space, we are going to do 3 single crochets. And then into our last corner space we are just going to do one single crochet, and then we're going to continue that the whole way round. So one single crochet into the top of our doubles and the chain spaces between them, and then when we get to that middle chain space in the corner we do 3 single crochets, and that is how we repeat the whole way round until we're ready to tie off. Okay, so that was our final single crochet. To complete our project we are going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet we did, not the chain stitch, but the first single crochet. And there we have it. So all that's left for us to do now is to tie in our ends, and there we have our completed square. Now these are a project that I would really recommend blocking. There's something that really benefit from it, just because we're working in quite an unstructured way in the corners, and then also starting with a round centre. But apart from that, I think they're a really great fun little make, and if you make one for yourself, I'd really love to see it, so please let me know. Thank you very much.